Hey, we're live. Welcome back to another edition of Everything College Basketball Presents In the Zone Press, our weekly YouTube show that we do seemingly every Thursday night now as the season's progressing. As always, Josh Burton,
Peyton Moon,
and with
Charlie Cook's on the flip side.
There you go. And the three of us round out the Everything College Basketball trio that you hear and love every Sunday afternoon or evening or whenever you choose to listen to our podcast. We thank you for that. As always, with the podcast and this YouTube show, we are presented by the Applied Direct Painting Services. Special thanks to J.R. Rowan Company for supporting us the way they do. And this week, fellas, we are here. As with always, we talk about the game of the day and a little side topics. Game of the day for us this weekend is Tennessee going into Baton Rouge to play the LSU Tigers. Tennessee was in our game of the day last week. They find themselves in the same situation this week. Different opponent, though. On the road again, different opponent. Tyler, LSU. Will Wade, in his second year with the Tigers down in Baton Rouge, has got LSU rolling right now.
Yeah, there's some big kids. They're young, but they're physical. They come at you at all angles. They know what they need to do to win ball games, and they've been showing it. You know, they just recently went into Rep Arena and came out with a victory there. A real tough battle there. So they're up to the challenge to playing on the big stage.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Peyton. LSU traditionally in the history, you go back to the Dale Brown era, back in the 80s, 90s, and the Shaqs and all them, Chris Jacksons, and that whole era of LSU basketball. And even, 10, 12 years ago, their last Final Four trip when they had Big Baby Davis, they had Tyrese Thomas, all them great players. But LSU, have kind of been on a downward slope. Even when they had Ben Simmons a few years, it was just a complete failure because they – under Johnny Jones, they didn't make the tournament. Ben Simmons basically quit school as soon as the season was over with. Didn't play in the NIT. And they had some good players to go along with him. Antonio Blakeney was there, good guys like that. But this version of LSU seems more cohesive, more together, just an overall really good team. We've talked about this, the three of us, and kind of alluded to it. I think LSU's at least an Elite Eight good team, outside Final Four a good team, depending on their matchup.
I think they're a Sweet 16 team right now, but maybe after this Tennessee game, if they were to win, maybe I'd put them in that Elite Eight group. But this is an interesting game for me. Tennessee coming off that loss last week to Kentucky, a blowout on the road, and LSU's coming off this loss against Florida. So I want to see how LSU bounces back from that loss.
Yeah, and even Tennessee, Tyler, we're really both at you. Tennessee, was pretty much dismantled last week playing the Cats up in Rupp Arena. Then they bounced back, I would say, with a win against Vandy on their home floor. But anybody who watched that game, it was pretty ugly. Tennessee ended up pulling out a win. The win was never really in question. But, fellas, Tennessee didn't look like the Tennessee of old. Did that game last Saturday against Kentucky do something to their psyche? What do you think? Tyler, you go first.
I don't think so. I think they were kind of overlooking Vandy. Vandy's not the greatest team this year. They'll fight you, but they don't have that knockout punch. I think that they were trying to overlook to try and get back to show everybody in the nation of who they are against LSU. So I think they kind of stepped over looking the game again to try and get ahead of the LSU game.
Yeah, Peyton, what do you think about that? Because just looking at the box score, if you didn't watch the game, you would look at it and go, okay, Tennessee, they won by like 10 or whatever. But on the surface, just watching it, it didn't look like the same Tennessee team we've seen.
No, maybe that Kentucky game did break them mentally because those are first top 25 players since Gonzaga.
Yeah, they had went like 2 months without playing.
Longest win.
Yeah, they went like 2 months without playing anybody good. Really.
And then they go in the road to run up and get blown out like that. And they struggle against Vandy. And they could have broken them mentally.
I think we're all in agreement. Tennessee's a really good ball club, but I think maybe you're starting to see some cracks in them. Maybe that long layoff in between, from December until last Saturday, maybe they're not as dominant as we thought they were. Now, of course, this is just a stretch of like 2 games, but there's questions starting to arise now, as opposed to a week ago this time. We were sitting there looking at the Volunteers thinking that this team was maybe the best team in the nation.
Yeah, I know us three was high on them, especially me. I was praising them, saying that they're probably the number 1 team in the country, at least second behind Duke. But, I mean, the first in SEC with only 1 conference loss in Kentucky last week. They're still up top, the sub elite team, in my opinion. I like to see how they bounce back on this game against LSU, because it's not going to be easy. It's just now getting rough for Tennessee because they played some early conference games, not very good opponents. Now they're starting to play the top-tier teams like Kentucky and LSU.
Yeah, and Tyler, this matchup Saturday afternoon, not only is an early afternoon game, a noon tip time, but we are this is really the first time that a game outside of a Kentucky game, or even a Florida, if you want to throw Florida in there, because they've been so dominant or really good the last 20 years. I mean, this is the first matchup that doesn't include one of those 2 teams where it has not only conference implications for the conference lead, but it's got national implications because both teams ranked inside the top 15 and LSU borderline top 10 team. So it's kind of a rarity to see 2 teams in the SEC play each other in a high-profile game that's not included Kentucky or Florida in it.
Yeah, it's great for the conference. I think it's great for the national standing as well, because you want these big conferences to be balanced. You don't want to have 2 big heavyweights and then a bunch of little welterweights behind. You want a battle like back in the Big East before. These teams were battle tested and ready to go come tournament time because they fought for 2 months before the tournament. So you want stuff like this to happen. You want to see these teams really come to life, especially Tennessee, man. They've been there, they've done that, but they kind of fell off. And I think Rick Barnes is getting them back on track. And LSU, like you mentioned, they've had players, they just didn't put it together. So I think this is a great thing all around for these guys.
Yeah, Peyton, what do you feel about that? I asked Tyler to pose a question. I know you stepped away because we have a damn dog barking in the background. Apologize for that, but can't control those animals sometimes. Speaking of animals, LSU and all that. But what do you feel about that? Just pose a question to Tyler. This is the first game on the national scene in a long time, especially it's got national and conference implications in the SEC that are mega that doesn't include a Kentucky or Florida. We talk about Tennessee, LSU.
Yeah, that is interesting. That really is. LSU and Tennessee being right there as a top tier teams, and not really Kentucky and Florida. Florida, I mean, beat LSU just recently, like I said earlier. So, and they're not playing so well in conference or overall in general. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Conrad, is that okay? I don't know what we had down here. He said, click your tab. It's only on Tyler. Tyler's only getting screen time, it looks like. Let me.
That's okay.
let me. Better? Is it going back and forth? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here.
Yeah, I can see both of us, but.
I can see both of us, but I don't know. Hopefully I fix that. If not, we'll manually do it. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. Break these teams down a little bit. We mentioned last week, coming into the last week's game, Tennessee was on a 19-game win streak. Obviously, the loss to Kentucky halted that, but they were able to knock off Vanderbilt, so that puts their total of 20 of the last 21 wins. Moves them to 24-2 overall, and it moves them at 12-1 inside of the conference. Tyler, LSU sitting at 21-5 now, 11-2 inside the conference. They're tied for second with Kentucky. You look at the rankings, both these teams, Tennessee's 5th in the AP poll, 8th in KenPom, and LSU is sitting at 13th in the AP poll. And God, I forgot. What were they in KenPom? What was LSU in KenPom? I forgot to. Do you want to have that? I forgot to write it down. Okay, so both these teams top 20 in AP and KenPom stats. Tyler, kind of looking here. I'll turn the floor over to you as far as some players to kind of keep an eye out on and some interesting stuff for this matchup on Saturday afternoon.
LSU, they come to the table with 4 guys averaging double figures. You got Tremont Waters, 15.7. Naz Reid, 13.8. Skylar Mays, 13.2. And Javonte Smart, 10.2. You got 2 freshmen, a sophomore and a junior doing that. So you have some talent and some young talent. So they've been building across the board, getting in the young and building up what they have with the sophomore and Tremont Waters and their junior and Skylar Mays. Tremont Waters is the guy. He is the guy who steers the ship here. He's the leading point man. He's the leading assist man. He has 5.9 assists per game. Naz Reid, your leader in rebounds, at 6.6. They're winners of their last 14 out of 16 games. They're pretty hot right now. They're rolling. I mean, other than their yesterday overtime loss to Florida, they're 14 to 16. They could have been 15 out of 16 very easily. They beat Kentucky. That's a huge notch in their belt. Yesterday, speaking on that Florida game, free throws were a crutch on them. They were 16 of 25. They only shot 64% from the free throw line. So they got to step that up. I mean, being at home, I think most home teams get to the line a little bit more. So they need to take advantage of that. You talk about the stats or the rankings in KenPom and everything. ESPN gives this a 58-42% edge to Tennessee. I see it a little closer. I say 55-45, 52-48, really 52-48 what they said. No, that's good. Sorry. I was looking at this wrong. But I can't read my own chicken scratch sometimes. But LSU, man, they're big, they're physical, and they're going to need all of that physicality. They're going to need to play that Kentucky game 2.0. They're going to need to come in and do the damn thing like they did against Kentucky, and just come in hard, strong, and fast, and don't let off the pedal.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because LSU, one of the things that much akin to Kentucky, they're really, really good on offensive glass. They've got some big athletic bodies. They're big and tall and wide, but they're athletic. And that's the one thing that killed Kentucky when they talking about LSU playing the Cats. They're so big and athletic, and they just throw their body at the offensive glass. They actually do drills. It showed up prior to the Kentucky game, which I think is neat. Normally, when teams have shoot arounds, it's obviously just like a walkthrough, final game preparations. Get free throws, jump shots, get a little sweat going, get a feel for the building rim, all that. LSU, they do that, but one of their drills they've actually do is they have their post guys and forwards, they have them stay about 12 feet from the rim on either side of the rim, sometimes dead directly in front, and they have an assistant coach not throw the ball at the backboard. He rockets the ball. He throws the ball baseball style at the rim, and the players can't see it coming. They have to just instantly react in just a split second like that and catch it 2 hands rebounding. And this is the reason why this team is such a great offensive rebounding team is because of drills like that, and it goes back to fundamentals. Will Wade has done an amazing job at just figuring out small intricacies of breaking stuff down other than just doing like shell drills and stuff like that. And so I'm glad, Tyler, you brought that up about being Kentucky 2.0 because we've seen it last week. Tennessee's physical. Kentucky punched them in the mouth even harder than what they wanted. Through dominated offensive glass. And I actually have in my notes written down, LSU must continue to crash the backboard, Peyton. They must continue. And size, man. Size is going to be an issue for Tennessee in this game.
Well, yeah, speaking of offensive rebounds and how well LSU crashes the glass and all that stuff, Emmett Williams and Cavell Big Williams are first and second offensive rebound percentage in the SEC. Emmett Williams is actually 9th in the nation. So that's telling you something there. These boys, and plus you got Nazron Reed, who likes to crash the glass as well. All 3 of those guys coming at you, you better box out, son.
Tyler, here's an interesting stat. KenPom's amazing. We've put this over a million times, but here's an interesting stat that I think that it just sticks out to me. Tennessee gets 22.7% of their points from the free throw line, which puts them at 27th in the nation. Now, I know on the surface it sounds like, 22.7%. But you think about it as a whole, it's like a pie chart. 22, almost a fourth of their points come from the free throw line. To me, teams that can get to the free throw line not only get there, but hit, and that's my second point to this. Not only they get to the free throw line frequently, but Tennessee's 24th in the nation, shooting 76%, which means they're hitting the free throws at a high clip. I think that's big time, especially as we move forward in like tournaments like the SEC and the NCAAs. Teams who can get to the free throw line and knock free throws down, or as valuable as teams that shoot three-pointers well. Am I correct, Tyler?
Yeah, that's I think it's a pet peeve for myself and for you as well, is being able to get to the line and finish. I mean, it's one thing to get to the line, but if you're hitting 1 out of 2 every time, you're not doing any damage. You're not separating yourself on the scoreboard. You're not doing anything to help your team. It's just happened with Florida. They shot 64%. Or not Florida, LSU. They shot 64% from the line against Florida. Sorry. So you need to be able to get there and capitalize. And say out of 100 points, you get 23 from the free throw stripe. That's good. That's cooking.
Yeah, and that's a big. And again, 22 on the surface. 22.7 doesn't sound a lot, but that ranks them 27th in the nation of 354 teams. So that means LSU doing the damn thing, getting to the free throw line and converting, shooting 76% from the foul stripe. Peyton, we spent a lot of time here early on LSU. Flip on to the Tennessee side. We're still high on Tennessee. Go ahead and break down some Tennessee stuff for us, just in case we forgot from last week till now.
Yeah. Tennessee is second in offensive efficiency. LSU is 11th. Tennessee shoots 36.8% from the three-pointer. LSU shoots 32.6% from three.
And while you're looking, we mentioned it last week. Another interesting stat on the it's Tier A teams. Jordan Bone of Tennessee is still shooting right around 35% from three, and LSU. To me, I don't care what Ken Palmer says. To me, LSU is a Tier A team now, and that's real important to see if Jordan Bone could continue to shoot the ball well, because he led Tennessee, even though they lost and got beat up last week. Jordan Bone led the Volunteers in Rupp Arena. I think he had 19 points. So that's a big-time player making big-time plays, and that's their point guard. So kind of be able to mix it up with a guy like Tremont Waters from LSU would be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun. Jordan Bone is first in assist rate in SEC. Tremont Waters is second. Grant Williams is second in true shooting percentage in the SEC. So he's struggling. I'm shooting the
just shooting, just scoring,
yeah. I was gonna say 3. I don't know why, but yeah, Jordan Bone and Tremont Waters. That's an interesting matchup.
Because Tyler, Tremont Waters is like a 5'8", 5'9" on his best day, small guard, and his ability. We've talked about him. He's got parking lot range. He steals the ball. He's like top 10 in the nation in steals, like steal percentage, steals overall. He's just a pest. He's like a typical small guard that is an absolute pest that you can't leave him alone because he's going to make play. Well, in the Kentucky game, we keep referencing. He had like 9 points, but it was more than his scoring. His shooting was off, but him getting in the lane, his defense pushing Ashton Higgins and guys outside of their comfort zone. A guy like Tremont Waters, as you all know, Tyler, unless you're playing a dude that's super athletic, that's real long and big, I know for us, we hated playing a dude that's real small and good defensively, that's a pest. And that's exactly what Tremont Waters is with parking lot range.
Yeah, because you're lower to the ground, you got a closer trajectory towards the ball. So if you're a point guard and you got 5 inches on this guy, he's already closer to the ground on the dribble. He's got that oomph to get in there and pick the pocket. He's very capable, and he's done it and proven it that he can get in there and take it from anybody. That size, I mean, just being small is not a bad thing at some point, because everybody's like, well, these guys are so small, so small. Remember Chris Lofton? He wasn't the biggest guy in the world, but he could hoop.
Dude,
Chris Lofton from Tennessee, yep. He could hoop. So no, Mac McClung, he's not. I mean, he's a little bit bigger, but he's small. You know, we got guys that are that are very capable. Frank Mason, Devontae Graham. Let's toot the horn a little bit. Small guys that can get in there, and do it. So it's been proven, especially at the college level, that a guy at that size can really, really produce offensively and defensively. Chris Clemens from Campbell. Here's another one.
Yeah.
Whitman in the chat. Shout out to Whitman and all the people watching. Conrad, Whitman, everybody else. Whitman, our buddy from Alabama, he says, what's parking lot range? Tyler, you or Peyton want to tell Whitman what parking lot range is?
I got you. Whitman, you know that 3-point line? It's where Cody tries to shoot from in 2K, about 5 feet back. You can actually hit the shot. You're 4 or 5 steps beyond the 3-point line, and you got the capability of knocking the shot down pretty consistently.
No, you just mentioned great players that go smaller. I'll throw in Tyler Eulis in there.
Yeah, Eulis was a good example as a point guard, steadying the pace and defensively.
I'll throw in him in there.
So we mentioned this too, how important not only in the national scene, SEC, seed-wise, everything, but dive a little bit more into the SEC-wise. Tennessee's currently back on top. It was a tie, but now with the LSU loss last night to Florida, it puts the Volunteers back in sole possession of first place right now. Tennessee's sitting at 12-1 in conference play. LSU's 11-2. Kentucky's 11-2. It's a 3-team race for the conference. So obviously with a Tennessee win, they can separate themselves a little bit more, drops LSU, and LSU wins, ties them back up. A lot of implications. Looking at each team's remaining schedule, last 5 games, including against each other. Tennessee, we've got at LSU, at Ole Miss, home against Kentucky, home against Mississippi State, at Auburn. For the conference, that is the top of the top in the SEC. Tennessee's got to play. That's literally the top 5 or 6 teams in the conference.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Maybe throwing Florida, but
yeah, that's what I said.
And then LSU on the flip side, they've got home against Tennessee, home against A&M, at Alabama, at Florida, home against Vandy. Fellas, if LSU clears this hurdle on Saturday afternoon of Tennessee, all signs point to an SEC title should be coming to Baton Rouge, because that schedule, with the exception of going to Alabama and out Florida, that schedule's pretty damn easy from here on out for the Tigers. And on the flip side, Tennessee's is about as hard as it gets. Remember to speak on that, or you're just going to sit there?
Well, it froze on my end. I was like, oh man, I'm losing it. But it just goes to show the scheduling. LSU they got that record, and they've went through the tough end of it already. But on the flip side, like Tennessee, they've went to the cupcake stage. Early relationship woos, everything's nice and easy, and now here comes the trials and tribulations. You got some rough games coming, and this is really going to tell you what type of team that Rick Barnes has put together.
Yeah, Peyton. That's what's your thoughts? Obviously, the road ahead for Tennessee is brutal, and the road ahead on the flip side for LSU is, for the most part, easy. Now, conference play throws a wrench to everything, but just on the surface, by win percentage and all that, LSU should have an easier side. So with that said, it's important for both teams, but who's it more important for right now to get a win on Saturday? Who needs the win more?
Tennessee.
That's tough. I'm going back and forth. I'm going to say LSU. If you can get over that hurdle against Tennessee, a tough Tennessee team, I think that could be big for the rest of the season, the rest of the big 4 games.
I'm going to agree, because I want to say Tennessee because of the schedule. They need to get this one cleared off. I'm going to agree with you in the aspect that LSU mentally needs the win. Because if mentally they can clear what they would consider their last remaining hurdle, and it's their goal and objective is ahead of them to just take care of business like they should, then LSU can win the first conference championship in 10 years or whatever. So I actually think LSU needs a win more. because especially if they lose, that makes it 2 losses in a row. You're starting to lose ground in the SEC, and it could spiral down. Tennessee could lose this game and still win out the last 4 and be okay. I think Tennessee's built for a – how should I put it? I think Tennessee's built for a longer run right now, more experience, better overall. But I think LSU needs it a little bit more. With that being said, that's an interesting topic, though. With that being said, getting into it, Ken Pom has the Volunteers pulling out a win in Baton Rouge on Saturday afternoon, 80-79. Fellas, Tyler, I'm going to start with you. Keys for Tennessee. We'll go one team at a time here. Keys for Tennessee. Tennessee wins on Saturday afternoon. They do what, sir?
You need Grant Williams. First off, Grant Williams and Schofield, they just got to be big. You got to play above. You got to play above that average that they're having. Grant Williams averaged 19 and almost 8. He needs to be at 25 and 10. Schofield, he's at almost 17 and 7. He needs 20 and 10. We need double doubles from both of these guys. It showed against the Kentucky game. You have to block out on every offensive shot that LSU takes. They come in hard-nosed. They crash the glass. And they will find a way to get in there and nose their way in to get it. Lastly, I mean, this is a more of a personal thing. Like with the players, it's not like a whole team thing on here. I have Williams and Schofield. Last thing, Jordan Bone, he's got to be there and get the ship going straight on a smooth sailing path. Limiting turnovers, forcing waters into tough, difficult shots, and creating difficult passing lanes. He can't lay off. He can't be picking these guys up with his heels on 3-point line. He has to pick up guys at half court and make it very difficult for them on the offensive end. On the flip side, he cannot be throwing the ball away. He has to be he has to have a very attacking mentality. With him attacking, it opens up Schofield and Williams. If you noticed in the Kentucky game, when he was bringing the ball down the court, he was motioning the guys behind him. Hurry up. Let's move. He needs to have that mentality again. He needs to have that drive to push everybody down the court and get to the offensive quickly. Those are the keys to get Tennessee over the hump today or Saturday.
I'm so glad. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Tim, but I'm so glad you mentioned the Jordan Bone and mentioned more specifically him not relaxing on a guy like Tremont Waters, because a guy like Tremont Waters has time and time, year and year proved that he could go 38 minutes and be cold. But if he sees one go, he could score 25 in 2 minutes. And it's important for Bone to not just basically cut the head off that snake in the offense and do not let Tremont Waters get feeling himself. Because if Tremont Waters gets rolling, it opens everything else for everybody else, because now you have to guard the guy as soon as he catches the basketball. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because that is a big, massive key in this ball game.
Want me to go next?
Yeah, if you're itching for it, go ahead.
All right.
Tennessee. Keep it Tennessee.
3 keys I got for Tennessee. 1, take care of the ball. Limit turnovers. If you can do that, that would help you going forward in this game. 2nd, I agree with Kirk. Schofield and Williams needs a great game. They need both of them at least have – one of them at least has to have 20 points or more, and the other like 15 or more. Both of them need to have a hell of a game to beat LSU. 3rd and final key, control the offensive glass. Keep LSU off that glass. There's going to be a couple possessions LSU's going to get some offensive rebounds. It's going to happen. It's bound to happen. But if you can limit that as much as possible and try to keep them off the glass, offensive glass, that could help going forward as well. Those are my 3 keys, quick keys for Tennessee.
Yeah, and I think what you'll hear from mine is that we've all kind of, in a roundabout way, agreed on Tennessee's keys. For me, run in transition. Tennessee, although they do like to play in half court, they have shown that they will get in the full court and create some havoc themselves. You've got a guy like Jordan Bone pushing the offense. You've got Schofield, Williams running the floor. One putting his head down towards the rim, getting there, posting up. The other for a pick and pop trail situation. They can inverse. More times than not, Schofield's the one that's on a pick and pop situation.
Yeah.
Grant Williams run down, but they can inverse. And then another way, we've talked about LSU's size. One thing against size, same way against the zone. Wear them down. Don't let them get that set up. Attack, attack, attack. Off of missed shots, you're a good rebounding team yourself on the defensive end. Attack the rim, get some easy buckets in transition. Number 2 for Tennessee, drive and draw. Again, with the bigs and the athleticism, the size of LSU, you want to have a guy like Jordan Bone or even a Grant Williams get inside the lane because they are good passers. Get inside the lane, get a foot or 2 feet inside the paint, and make the big step up, make rotation come down to you, and then look weak side for corner threes, kick outs. Maybe if a big comes at you, you give him a shot fake or pass fake, go low. You want to keep driving and drawing, creating that defense, getting them scrambling. Number 3, Tennessee's got to hit some threes. They've got to open up LSU. You can't let them bigs sit down there and just dominate the glass. Spread them out, hit some threes. It opens up. It kind of goes hand in hand with the drive and draw. And then lastly for Tennessee, guards must help rebound. We've all sat here and said essentially LSU is a really, really good offensive rebounding team. Guards like Bone, all of them, attack the glass. You have to come down because Williams and Schofield can only do so much. You have to come down. You don't have to get 20 rebounds. You need 8. You need 8, 9. You just need to help out, help control the backboard. That's our keys for Tennessee if they walk out with a victory on Saturday. LSU on the flip side, LSU protects home court. Peyton will let you start first on this one. LSU protects home court. Their keys to victory are
Make Jordan Bond some bad decisions, whether it's turnovers, whatever it is. You can force him into some turnovers or get him in foul trouble or something like that to take him out of the game mentally. That'd be great. Also, hit some key shots on deep range, whether it's Waters, Mays, whoever it is. You can open that up and stretch it out, hit some threes. That can help as well. Lastly, Tremont Waters has to hit some key shots down the stretch. He don't have to drop 30 points or nothing like that. If he hits some big threes, like the final 5 minutes left in the game, really open it up and get hot, Tennessee could be in trouble.
Tyler, in your opinion, LSU walks away protecting home court on Saturday afternoon with a smile on their face. They do what?
Well, Bobby Boucher will be in the stands if that's the case. But you gotta. I touched on it a minute ago. They got to come with the same level of intensity that they played with at Rupp a little over a week ago. They have to match it, at least match it. Tennessee, they're hunting for a key victory here. Everybody's talking about, well, they haven't beat anybody since Gonzaga back in November. You know, December. This is a monkey on their back they're trying to shake. So LSU has to come in with that same mentality that they are the underdog. They got to fight that way and continue to play that way the entire game. Nextly, I think we're going to agree on what Peyton said as well. They got to win the glass. They got to win the glass by 5 or more. LSU is very great at attacking the rim and getting offensive glass boards, and they're very, very good at limiting teams to one-and-done shots. So they have to, and I've touched on this in weeks past. If you put yourself in position to win, you need to win the glass. So that's another thing that LSU has to do is win by 5, I think. Another thing I agree with Peyton again, Tremont Waters, it ends and begins with him. It's got to get going early, often, middle, in between. Got to be getting shots in at halftime. I don't even care. Tremont Waters has to be the catalyst for this team to get it to go to beat Tennessee on Saturday at noon.
Yeah, and I think you're going to find kind of we have the same mentality. We've spent enough time watching games this year around each other. We've kind of, even being apart and doing our notes, I swear we do our notes separate, but we kind of all just kind of click and have that same mindset about a lot of this because our notes are, similar. LSU, for me, same way you guys have both touched on, control the glass. Continue to throw your body at the offensive glass specifically, both sides, but offensive. You're one of the top 10 teams in America offensive rebounding. Don't stop now. Tennessee is big and strong and physical. That means you throw more, and you keep throwing more, and you keep throwing more. Secondly, use your size and athleticism. We've sat here and talked for the last half an hour about how big and how athletic the Tigers are, and you need to use that. There's going to be mismatches. You think about a Nazarion Reed, a dude that's like 7 foot, plays back to the basket, but can also face up and attack the rim.
Yeah.
I mean, as good as Admiral Schofield or Grant Williams are, and as strong as they are, Nazarion Reed's not a small kid. He is not. If you ever seen this dude, he's broad-shouldered, big, 7-footer, plays back to the basket, but can also face up. Well, against Florida last night, he had 20. I don't want to butcher. He had like 26 points and like 14 rebounds. I mean, he was just a monster. So he's going to cause matchup nightmares for Tennessee. You mentioned Emmett Williams and Bigby Williams.
Yeah.
Everybody on that floor LSU is going to throw out there besides Tremont Waters is going to be big. Use that size and athleticism to your advantage if you're LSU. And thirdly, touched on earlier, LSU, get to the free throw line. 22.7% of your points come from the free throw line. You shoot 76% from the free throw line, which is 24th in the nation. Get to the free throw line. Put Tennessee in situations where they have to play their bench, even though they're deep. Make them play their bench. Put them in foul trouble, and get to the free throw line, because 9 times out, or at least 7 times out of 10 right now, almost 8, you're going to convert. Get to the free throw line if you're LSU. Those are our keys. Prediction time, fellas. Prediction time. I'll start first. I never go first on this. We'll start first. Close ball game all the way through. Obviously, the top 2 teams in the conference. 2 of the top 15 teams in America right now. Seeding line is on the line tomorrow on Saturday. The conference is on the line, at least the conference race, because you guys are in Kentucky as well. LSU coming off of a loss. Tennessee's not looking good the last 2. Lots on the line. A lot of pros in the game, too. You think about Naz Reed, you think about Grant Williams, Schofield, probably Jordan Bone. You think of guys like that. A lot to be on the line on Saturday afternoon. And it's an early tip time. I mean, it's an early game. It's a noon o'clock game. I mean, right as soon as game day is over with, they'll go straight to Baton Rouge. Watch, all that being said, I would have picked Tennessee. I had Tennessee winning until Florida went into LSU last night and knocked off LSU. It's the same way when LSU knocked off Kentucky and Tennessee had to play them. I kind of felt bad for Tennessee.
Yeah.
Tennessee's running into another one this week. LSU coming off that loss at home to Florida. Upset, mad, know they're better. They have something to prove with the Volunteers coming in. I've got – even though as a Kentucky fan I need Tennessee to win this because we don't play LSU and all this other stuff, they have a chance for a conference. Need Tennessee to win. My heart, my brain. LSU 79, Tennessee 77. Peyton.
Tennessee winning 80-79. I can't agree on the score. I got the different winning. LSU beats Tennessee 77-74. And the MVP of that game, Tremont Waters. I have a feeling he's about to go off for 30 or more.
Wow.
So, Tigers, go beating the Volunteers. Good.
Lord have mercy. You guys aren't faring out very well when you two disagree with me on these things.
Hey, I don't want to hear. I got Kentucky last week. You two assholes took Tennessee, and how that worked out.
I'm saying when you two are against me, I'm not talking about any other scenario. We'll touch on it here in a minute. I'll give you a prime example. But I do not see LSU coming out on this one. I see Tennessee 76-70. A reason why I gave them the edge. Yesterday, they put 5 guys in double figures. 5 scores went to double figures, and they still could not knock off 15-11 Florida. Now, I know you're at home. I know all of this. I know all of that. Tennessee is more hungry. They have more desire. They have more fight. Tennessee comes out. They got more experience. They got more of everything that I look at personally than LSU does. Tennessee, Rocky Top, 76-70. This ain't the Bourbon Bowl where the Mud Dogs come out and win. This ain't no Baton Rouge bullshit. Tennessee takes it.
It's fair. I mean, hey, as a Kentucky fan, we actually need Tennessee to win this one.
Yeah, you do.
But we'll see. It's going to be a fun one at noon. We actually have a question. First of all, Conrad says he's got Tennessee 73-70. So you've got an agreement there. Whitman says go Big Orange. So he's going with the Volunteers. I'm pulling for Tennessee. But I actually think LSU is going to win.
I do too.
But we do have a question here from the Everything Pro Wrestling and Conrad. And so let's go ahead and get into it. I was going to save it for the podcast. Let's go ahead and touch on it now. We can still talk about the podcast.
Yeah.
The whole Zion players being paid, amateurism. Boogie Cousins comes out with the statements today about, basically F the NCAA and all that other stuff. He did go ahead and say, too, he enjoyed his time at Kentucky, but what he said, a lot of it was, in my opinion, right. I thought he was correct in saying, as far as NCAA is a joke. There's been a lot of talk on you get on our Facebook group, facebook.com/everything college basketball. There's a lot of discussion about it, so let's go ahead and touch on it real quick. First of all, Zion Williamson. We don't know the extent of his injury. We just know he's hurt his knee. Chances are it looks like it's not too bad. He could probably get cleared. Have you heard?
I've seen
Mild strain.
Sprained knee.
Day to day.
So it's kind of like a Reed Travis. Reed Travis sprained his right knee. He's out 7-10 days. He'll be back. So Zion will probably be back. But if you're Zion, this is where the controversy is. You get cleared. In my opinion, you don't owe Duke nothing else. You don't owe the NCAA nothing else. You've already proven you're the number one player. You're a once-in-a-generation type attraction. Yes, you do have the $8 million insurance policy. But if you come back, and yes, you can chase an NCAA title, but if you come back and you do something worse, God forbid he tears his knee up completely, or he breaks a leg like a Paul George, snap his leg bad, or something. Yes, it can be rehabbed, it can be fixed, but it takes something out of you. You have a surgery like that, you're never the athlete you were before. You look at D. Rose. He was such a freak athlete, such a great player, got hurt again, and he's good now again, but he's not great.
No.
Zion's leaving hundreds of millions of dollars on the table. My opinion, I know, alone. You hang it up. You don't know the NCAA. You don't know Duke. You've made millions of dollars for them. You shut it down. You're done for the year. You shut it down. You think about your future, and you're not thinking about just your future. This type of money he's about to receive, hundreds of millions of dollars, not only in an NBA contract, but with the shoe deal, marketing, hundreds of millions of dollars is going to change not only his life, not only his mom and dad's life, it's going to change his kid's life, his kid's life, and generations on down. Something that Coach Cal talks about all the time. If you're Zion, whether the doctor says, yes, come back, no, you can't come back. If I'm his parents, people around him, I'm telling him to shut it down. Tyler, what do you think?
I can see where you're coming from, but as a competitive person myself, I've seen Zion's competitiveness, especially in that comeback against LSU. Just the pass, or not LSU, sorry, we're on the topic. Louisville, yeah. But you see the desire in this kid's eyes. He wants to win. He wants to play. That's what it's all about. Money's fine later on down the road, but when you start this game, it's because it's fun. We got to remember he's 19 years old. He's still just a kid. He's a monster of a kid. He's still just a kid. He wants to play. I don't think he should shut it down. I think he should continue to play. There's things that happen. Kyrie shut it down, and he still has injuries. It's all hypothetical things the way things work out. Greg Oden, he went 1 year and then he got hurt and then he just never played. You don't know what's going to happen with these things. I think Zion can and will come back and play at a very high level. He's got to. I think he wants to prove that he can lead a team to a national championship, and I believe that he can. I don't see him shutting it down. I can see the reasonings as to why, but I don't see him doing it personally.
Peyton, I know where you're going. I know you're agreeing with Cook, and that's fine. Go ahead and give your reasonings for it.
Zion, he loves his teammates. He loves Trey, Cam, and RJ. You can tell. I've watched videos before the season started of them doing interviews with each other and having a good time. You can see it. You can see the competitiveness of all four of them. They want to win a national title. He even said that. Us four, they did an interview and said, we want to win a national title. And you have a chance to win a national title with Duke. As far as I'm concerned, Duke's the favorites to win the national title this year.
Without Zion, they're proving that they're very beatable. That's another topic we'll get into Sunday.
Yes, correct. But with Zion, if he gets cleared and he doesn't play and he decides not to play, which is his decision, fine. I get it, money, all that stuff, draft stock, #1 player in the nation. It's not something I would do.
You guys are taking. I understand. I trust me, the competitor in me. I understand, but it took. I watched a couple documentaries, and what really changed my mind, because I used to be the same way. Like a player could play, and whatever. Until I watched Coach Cal's 30 for 30, and they talked about his first great player at Memphis. God, I cannot think of his name right now. Basically, he became really Cal's first one and done. He told him, he said, dude, because he wanted to come back to Memphis, he said, you got to go. Your family basically is poor. You got to go. Begrudgingly, he went, had a really – what was it? Oh, God dang it. No, not Dewan. What was his name? It'll come to me. Anyways, he went, had a superstar year in Cleveland. The next year, got hurt real bad. Had he stayed in Memphis, and he got hurt, he never makes all this money he made. To take out our competitive side, because I think a lot of times we look at it from our perspective, competitive side. To take that out. If that kid comes back, yes, and there's a chance he'd come back and not get hurt and win a title and all that great stuff. If that kid came back and something serious happened to him, for people like our enjoyment, for Duke fans' enjoyment, for the NCAA, people who love the NCAA, for their enjoyment, and he loses out on hundreds of millions of dollars for what? Duke's still they're still good enough to win a title. He can still support his teammates. You don't have to leave school because he's not going to work out for these teams. He's already undisputed #1. He can still stay, support his team. And I think if you ask like an RJ Barrett, they're going to understand. These top players understand. It's not like this dude is like, I'm trying to think of a good example. It's not like he, just decided earlier in the year that, oh, no, my draft stock, I've been advised. Because there's been players like that. People thought that about Jared Vanderbilt for a long time, that he had got hurt and the people around him were telling him just not to play until Cal finally went to him last year. And like, either you're going to do this or you're not. And finally he played. But you just hypothetically, what happens if he gets hurt serious?
That's everything. I mean, anybody can get injured.
Anybody, but not any. This is where we're different. Not everybody is a once-in-a-generation player. We're talking about, like, dudes every year. Yes, there's a first-round draft pick, a #1 overall. Anthony Bennett, for Christ's sakes, went #1 in 2013. Probably one of the worst #1 overalls of all time.
Yes.
But we're not talking about Anthony Bennett. We're talking about a once-in-a-generation type player who's got not just #1 overall money. He's got endorsements out the ass. And if this kid comes back and something, God forbid, happens to him and he is hurt and he can't play basketball the way he used to, it's the cruel world of business. Teams, they're going to move on. They're going to get somebody that's already an established superstar. They're going to wait for the next big thing. He's losing out on millions. It's the same reason. If you want to equate it to I know they're different sports, but think of it like they say the life shelf of an NFL running back is that small in comparison. That's why dudes who are Heisman ready, like at running back spots, leave after their junior year and very rarely come back for a senior year because there's only so many hits that you can take. Zion, we're talking about, I think you're confusing a typical number 1 overall with an once in a generation type talent in Zion, who is missing out potentially on life-changing, life generation setting up money should he get hurt. It's one thing. If you go to the NBA, yeah, and people have said, well, he can get hurt in the NBA, but get hurt in the NBA once you've got your money. Don't get hurt now before you've got that money. That's all I'm saying.
I understand. I really do. I don't know. Maybe it's just my competitiveness and how competitive I am.
Well, I think the kid's competitive.
No.
I think he's competitive, but you got to be smart. You got to take that stuff away from it and do what's right for you. You can't do what's right for the university. You can't do what's right for Joe Blow. You can't do what's right for the everything college basketball. You got to do what's right for you and your family. And if just me, Zion's taking a big risk if he comes back.
There's points, good points on both sides of the spectrum. Now I know what I mentioned I felt like, but also if he shuts it down, I highly doubt it. But there are general managers that will overlook a guy who, well, he was injured and he didn't want to come back. Maybe he's hiding something. Maybe something's there behind the scenes that they don't want to show that he's lost that step or, has a deeper injury than what was let loose. So that's another reason why I think he should be able to come. He should come back and light it up, because he has to still show off an injury. You still have to show that you still can produce and in a live action. Now I know that there are drills and there's these combines and stuff like that can show that you're capable, but until you strap back up and you have that mental block, you have to get through that mental thing. It didn't even look like he was hurt that bad. It may be that he was or wasn't, but you have to show that you are capable mentally and physically of surpassing any injury. And the only way to do that is to prove it when the ball tips off and there's refs on the floor. You can't do it in practice. You can't do it at shoot-arounds. You have to be on the floor to show that you can still play the way that you always played.
I think it's an overlooked point, too, that you brought up. Whether he comes back in college or he comes back in the NBA, knowing off personally being injured myself, and mine was tore, his is sprained, whatever. You don't think it's going to be in the back of his mind the first time he tries to go hard right somewhere or even plant left, or anytime he dribbles hard and plants.
Oh, even just
be in the back of his mind. It's not going to be in the back. It'll be in the back of his mind. Like, even I still think, say he comes back, he comes back to college, which it's not going to surprise me if he does. But if he comes back, that first game back, I would bet the farm on it that he's not going to be very good, because he's going to be in the back of his mind just praying he don't get hurt.
He'll wait until the second half to go. He'll take that first 20. He'll take that first 20, test the waters. Once he gets warmed up and feeling good, then he'll go try and rip the rim off. I don't think that he'll try it right off the bat. Because you've seen how hard he planted in that first play, touched the ball, ready to be aggressive and ready to make a point against North Carolina. But just so happened his foot ripped through the shoe. And people saying that Nike's not a good whatever. The kid's fucking 270 pounds. Dear God. I have never seen anybody, and especially with his power, how strong this kid can be. Just blew it right out. You can only make so much.
And he made the mistake of wearing Paul George's. He should have wore a better brand than Nike.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
Kansas, who you patched up on, is an Adidas boy.
Exactly. What's on, man?
I've never in my life, speaking of that situation, I've never seen a shoe explode. I mean, we've all seen it.
Not that quick.
No, I've never, not even just that quick. I've never seen one just. We've all seen them like break. We've seen like the toe break or like the sole break off, or dude, it exploded to where his foot popped through it, and his the shoe. Excuse my language. The shoe was all the way up to his calf.
I did fall through the Reebok Talk Crazies. Remember those where you could ride on them?
Yeah.
My dumbass went and bought some. I did go through it. Now, it wasn't to that extreme because I was almost 100 pounds less than him at the time. But I did go through. Now, it's Reebok. Reebok's trash. But there is one. I can't say I've never seen it.
Dude,
But never to that extreme.
I mean, it looked like a tire blowing out on the interstate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But good discussion. I mean, it's just our opinions. Like I said, you guys, I can see where you guys say come back. And as a fan of college basketball, I'd be all right if he comes back. But as the person, just if you're asking me what I would do if that was my son or whatnot, I'd tell him, I'd advise him to shut it down. I wouldn't care who gets mad about it because it's not their decision. I'd advise him to shut it down. But fun topic to get on. Good question, Conrad. That kind of brought out some. I think that was pretty good video right there. I think that was real good video. But hey, guys, as always, we gave you our predictions, kind of broke stuff down. We've got more to talk about, Sunday on the podcast. We'll definitely break down this game, LSU Tennessee. We'll break that down, the result. We will talk about Jim Boeheim situation was awful. You guys heard about that?
Yeah, that's sad.
Dude, that's terrible. And they said no alcohol in the system, so it's a bad deal. We'll talk about that.
That type of guy. It's just a freak accident. Unfortunately, it happened to a guy in his position, but it's just not a good situation. And I don't see anything negative coming to his way as far as legal stuff, but that's going to weigh heavy on that guy's heart.
I'm like, you just imagine, like, it would never leave me. And the crazy thing about it, game day scheduled to be there in Syracuse this Saturday for the Duke game.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we'll touch on that. We'll touch on the craziness. We've already, just yesterday alone, we had, I think, 5-6 teams inside the top 25 lose. There's going to be a guaranteed new number 1 in the nation after Duke losing. Just a lot of craziness, and maybe a special guest on Sunday. We're working on something with Mr. Greg Peterson from out in Las Vegas, has a national radio show on college basketball, so maybe we'll get him on the line for a little bit. Got a lot of stuff planned. So for this episode of In the Zone Press, Josh Burton,
Tyler Cook.
We will catch you Sunday. Boom.